everybody. Welcome. It's great to see you all. Here are some words with which we begin our time together, our 40 minutes. Words from Psalm 63. O God, you are my God. Earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My body longs for you in a dry and weary land where there is no water. Have you ever felt like that? Such a deep yearning for God. I seek you, Lord. My soul thirsts for you. My body longs for you in a dry and weary land where there is no water. I've had such fun over the last number of weeks taking 3 Bible studies. And we've been looking at that wonderful story of Jesus and the woman at the well. Remember that one? John chapter 4, the woman comes to the well. Jesus asks her for something to drink. And she's taken aback. She's a Samaritan woman. And Jesus says, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that is asking you for water, for a drink, you would ask him and he would give you living water. Now, Jesus is not talking at the level of physical water that we would drink, although that is the initial reference point. Jesus is talking about the gift of the Spirit of God, who meets us in a deep place in our lives. But let's be honest, we are thirsty. We are thirsty. We long for something more. Oh God, you are my God. Early will I seek you. My soul longs for you as water in a dry and thirsty land. I think we know in South Africa the meaning of the absence of water. As we've done in my little groups, we've had great fun just trying to identify the number of place names in South Africa that have the word fontaine behind them. Have you thought about that? Well, Johan at the back there worked out 90. How many did you do, Johan? Over 90 places. Over 90 places. The story of this little Bible study went to an old chap who lived in Bushmanland. It's Althea's brother-in-law, blind, deaf, blind in one eye, almost deaf. Just thinks, and Althea said, we have this thing about fountains. And he just sat down and enumerated all the fontaine in Bushmanland. And when you put them all together, there are literally over 100, well over 100, comfortably over 100. And of course, Hermanus Peter's fontaine. So our life here was built around a fountain, albeit a besoedelde fountain, at least a few years ago. And I certainly wouldn't drink water from the present Hermanus Peter's fontaine. Fontaine, fountains, spreits, riviers, brons, kuils. Water has been an issue. We are a dry and thirsty land. And one of the ways I like to imagine a church Sunday by Sunday is that people come here and deep down within their souls there is just one request. May I have something to drink? Because we're thirsty. And maybe Psalm 63 reflects where a lot of us are at. We long for God. because modern life has perhaps taken its toll on us, and we are pits zonder water. And in the book of Jeremiah, in the second chapter, God says, I'm absolutely staggered. I'm absolutely staggered. In fact, he says, I'm appalled because my people, listen to this, my people have forsaken me, the fountain of living water. And in my place, they have resorted to cisterns that hold no water, broken, cracked cisterns. And if God was disappointed with his people then, how much more now? Amen. As I think as a nation, we have forsaken God. The fountain of flowing and living water. And we have replaced this fountain of living water, who is God himself. We have chosen to live our lives around cistern wells that are broken and hold no water. Why? Why do we do that? Please, may I have something to drink, was what Jesus asked that lady. And I like to think of this church as a place where people come Sunday by Sunday and they drink long and deep from the fountain, from the spring of living water. Jesus said to the lady, you will drink of this water and you will keep coming back to this place. But if you drink of the water that I give you, it will be like a spring of living water welling up to everlasting life. Isn't that a lovely picture of our faith? It will be like a spring of water welling up, Afrikaans, opborrelend, springing up unto everlasting life. And I say, Lord, may this be a fontaine of living water. So continuing our theme of Isaiah, from Isaiah 40, I jumped a little bit deep into Isaiah and wanted to just say a few words about Isaiah 55, a well-known passage. Remember, we spoke Isaiah 61, that lovely passage about God bestowing upon us beauty for ashes and a garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. We went into Isaiah 40 and the record stuck for 3 weeks, and then we moved out of Isaiah 40 and into Isaiah 55. Come, all you who are thirsty. Does it sound familiar? Come, all you who are thirsty. Come to the waters. And you who have no money, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without cost. Why spend money on what is bread and what is not bread, and your labor on what does not satisfy? Listen to me and eat what is good, and your soul will delight in the richest of fare. Let me just stop there. Who's speaking here? God is speaking. Can that be true? God is speaking? Yeah, he is. And I kind of look there and I think, well, hang on, maybe I've got something wrong in my head. Something that I have subconsciously taken on board over the years and has become almost my default mode of thinking about God. Because God is saying here, come. One imagines God with arms wide open, and he's saying, come, come. And he is saying, if you're thirsty, come to the waters. I want to give you something to drink. If you're hungry, I want to come and give you something that will fill your tummy. No, not literally thirsty. No, not literally hungry, although that, I think, is part of it at the end of the day, when our Christian faith begins to take on that practical, sleeves rolled up, hands-on dimension. But that God stands before us as someone who offers us life to this thirsty world, to the spiritually hungry world. God is here presented as the host at a banquet, and he's saying, come to the waters, come to the banquet. And you who have no money, come. Wine, milk, the very best. And you don't have to pay a thing. Come. Now, my default mode for too long is, when I hear God saying coming, I sort of enter not a banqueting hall, but a courtroom. Because the judge is waiting to speak to you. Yes, I know he's a kindly judge. Yes, I know he is a judge who's going to forgive me. But for too long, I have allowed that image of God as the judge to kind of take hold of my mental picture of who God is. And I have not balanced it. And I think it's a question of balance. I have not balanced it sufficiently with God as the host at the banquet and saying, come. And between you and me, I would much prefer to go into a banqueting hall than a courtroom. And I think sometimes we've done the gospel a disservice by not keeping that sort of, yes, there are times when we feel, God, please forgive me, forgive me. But when it comes at you every Sunday, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. You begin to kind of feel a little bit weighed down, despite the fact that we all kind of say, well, you know, God is merciful and kind, but the overriding sense you're coming to a church, we're coming into a courtroom. And yes, there is a sort of an advocate, that's Jesus, yes, and he comes alongside of us, and he says all those incredible things. And I take that on board, and I say, Lord, thank you. But that's not where I want to live, quite honestly. I really don't. And if you go through the Gospels, yes, there is in the letters of St. Paul, there are these images which are important. But if you look through the Gospel and the message of Jesus, and here in the Old Testament, and you go through the New Testament, the parables, and into the book of Revelation, where God says, come, come, the bridal supper of the Lamb. It's a festival. It is a banquet hall. He brought me into his banqueting house, and his banner over me is love. Where has that gotten to? Where has that gotten to? Come, God says, come. Come to the waters. Come to the waters. To us who are thirsty and who are hungry, let us come into the banqueting house and drink long and deep of the very best that God has for us. When that prodigal arrived home, what did the father say? Go and sit in the corner, confess your sins, do all this and that, and then at the right time I'll call you out and then we'll talk about it. No. he ran, he fell on his boy, he kissed him, he called for the best robe and the rings and the shoes or the sandals on his feet and the best robe, killed the fatted calf. For this my son was dead and is alive. He is lost and is found. And what did they do? They had a party. And I just go through the Gospels and I see that. I see that. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. There are times when I need to be brought up short. I do. But I think where in the practice of my faith, where on a Sunday do we have that sense that when we're coming in here, we're not walking into the courtroom. We're coming into the banqueting house. And his banner over us is love. Yeah. I say, Lord, please, please, please. And I spend a lot of time with guys who are not Christians. And yesterday at a wedding, long conversation. Oh, James, don't do that. I went to a church school. And I got it 7 days a week, compulsory. And I've had enough. I don't feel I need any more. How sad. Now, I'm not denying that, there are guys who make choices and they don't want to, but there are a lot of people out there who sense that the church perhaps is too austere, that we've lost that sense of affirming life, and that they would honestly rather be anywhere else on a Sunday morning than sitting in church having fingers waved at them. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. And I say, what kind of gospel are we proclaiming and sharing? Where Jesus tells people to go out in the parables, go out and bring them in. Bring them in. Because there is a festival, there is a banqueting house. And it is full of the good things of God, his grace and his mercy, his love and his hope and his light. Say, yes, Lord, please. And I see this passage which is spoken to the people of God, defeated, disappointed. They're in exile. Come, he says, come. And I reckon a lot of Christians have been just beaten up over the years by a very harsh kind of impersonal gospel that lives in the courtroom and knows very little of the banqueting house. I say, oh, Lord, just here, may this be a fountain. We spoke about that. A fountain of living water where people drink long and deep. Come, may it be a banqueting house where people taste of the goodness of God, his mercy, and his kindness. He brought me into his banqueting house, and his banner over me, his love. And so on this day, with rugby coming up in just however many minutes, just take Isaiah 55 and read that. Not going to go through the whole thing, just to introduce you to Isaiah 55. Picture God as saying, come on, my people. And the old translations, they say, ho, H-O, ho, and you kind of, oh, my goodness gracious. There's a sort of, come on, guys, whoa. Everyone who thirsts, come to the waters. And you who have no money, come, buy and eat, come buy wine and milk without money and without cost. Why spend money on what is not bread and your labor on what does not satisfy? Listen Listen to me and eat what is good, and your soul will delight in the richest of fare. Amen? Yeah, may that, friends, be our experience of the gospel.